Greetings. Allow me to tell you a tale of how I, Cthulhu, on vacation and reclining in a fjord, like the world's oldest seaweed-scented therapist, was assaulted by a mythically desperate undead Norseman with the screaming wail of a Call of Duty chat room. The Norseman's boots slapped stone in perfect berserker cadence, bare, furious, caked in ancestral mud. One hand gripped a dented axe, the other a round shield fashioned from the lid of a rusted barbecue grill. His beard streamed behind him like a war banner. His eyes burned with the kind of madness usually reserved for cliff poems and untreated infections.
Your dusk has come, Lake Witch. I've marched from grave to fjord for this reckoning,
he bellowed, a title I had not in all my billions of years ever been assigned. That was new. I've been called the Sleeper, the Unnamed, the Regret that Screams, but never Lake Witch. There was a certain rustic charm to it, something you'd shout while drowning in a canoe. I let it hang in the air for a moment. Wrong, obviously, but not bad. He leapt from a boulder, drawing back the axe like he meant to cleave time in half. A war cry tore from his throat, loud enough, perhaps, to wake Ragnar Lothbrok from the grave, if it hadn't sounded so damp and defeated by gravity. From where I lay, half asleep, stretched across 3 fjord ledges with kelp tangled through my limbs like decorative indecision, I extended one tentacle and flicked him sideways into a birch tree. The cry cut off mid-vowel. There was a heavy thump, followed by the unmistakable sound of disappointed armor. A few branches fell. Silence. I shifted, adjusted a boulder under my shoulder. The sun slipped from behind a cloud and warmed the ridge of my brow. Quiet again.
Face me, Lake Worm. I've crossed death for less worthy foes. I name you Lake Worm of the Drowned Deep. Stand and test me. Show yourself.
I'm literally in plain sight.
Or be shamed by silence.
Lake Worm. That was new too, and regrettably, not an upgrade. It struck me as a sign of linguistic deterioration. In a single morning, I had apparently devolved from sorceress to annelid. At this rate, I'd be a damp mushroom by lunchtime. I opened my eyes. All of them. Sure enough, it was the same one. The hair, the moss, the emotional commitment. It dawned on me, finally, that this wasn't just some Swedish man reenacting his grandfather's hallucinations. This was a Draugr, an honest, risen, unchosen undead. And by the look of his posture, shoulders squared, teeth gritted, confidence leaking from every pore, he still thought this counted as glory. I felt embarrassed on behalf of the species. Off to the side, Odin's ravens took wing, flapping away slowly like bureaucrats refusing to co-sign. He charged, again, this time with a rake, an actual gardening implement, rusted and wrapped in what looked like a shoelace rune. He sprinted straight into one of my tentacles and swung it like he was breaking a curse. The tines bent instantly with a sad metallic whimper. I shifted my weight, barely 2% of my full mass, and sent him skipping through the air like wet debris. He disappeared into the forest canopy with a leafy crash that startled 3 deer and dislodged a hawk. I remained still. Only my thoughts moved. How many square meters of forest must one destroy before a Norseman accepts rejection? I closed my eyes again, let the water rise slightly over my limbs, and for a moment I remembered why I hadn't destroyed Earth back when it voted to name a military drone after a snack food. 10 minutes later, I felt the familiar sensation of fingers, bony, soggy, scrabbling at a fold near my dorsal ridge. He was climbing me. like a man scaling a volcanic outcropping in search of his own dignity. I let him reach the midpoint, then flicked him off with one slow surgical coil, which I hope landed in either Zeus's bedchambers or, well, just anywhere Zeus might be in proximity. Anyway, the fjord was calm again, sacred and mysterious in its ancient temperature, fit for an eldritch god like myself. I had reclined there for the better part of an afternoon, spine slotted between two tectonic shelves like I was trying to realign creation through posture alone. One tentacle rested over a boulder the size of a cathedral. The others floated quietly beneath the surface, twitching now and then to scare off kayakers. Above me, peace. Below me, silence.
Yet still I return.
He howled, mid-air again as if volume could change trajectory. He sailed a heroic 2 meters before colliding face first with a moss patch that had not requested guests. I let him lie there, not out of mercy, but because moving even a single tentacle to acknowledge him felt spiritually expensive. I was, after all, on vacation. By afternoon he had escalated to fire, a smoldering stick tied to a runestone with string. He lit it poorly, too much spittle, not enough ritual, and waved it like he was trying to bless a haunted outhouse. I watched it burn out on my side while a trout crawled lazily across my palm. It tickled. Eventually, I extended a tentacle and laid it across him like a wet celestial blanket.
Choose me!
Came the muffled protest. It was delivered with the tone of someone who thought this was a divine draft pick, and he was a particularly elusive Pokemon. Somewhere, I imagined, a Valkyrie was face-palming behind a cloud. I didn't reply. Let the silence mature. A few gulls passed overhead. Then from beneath the tentacle, singing, loud, off-key. It might have been a death dirge, or a tavern ballad about onions. One verse was just the word valor, repeated over and over while he tried to clap in rhythm. I flexed. He tumbled sideways into the lake again. He surfaced wheezing, then slapped both hands on his chest and bellowed,
Do you fear me yet, great spaghetti sponge?
No, not even a little bit, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The lake heard it for me.
Do you test me?
I am reclining, I replied. That's not a test. That is a structural fact.
Then who is the one being tested here?
And that, dear viewer, won my complete attention. Because it was exactly the kind of brilliance I've come to expect from humanity. The unchallenged apex predator of the animal kingdom. The only species capable of setting itself on fire and demanding applause. I shifted my weight just enough to gaze fully at the Draugr without removing myself from the joy of the fjord. You really do think this is about you? He didn't speak. He looked proud of himself. They always do. It's always the same. The mortal shows up in animal hide and homemade declarations, declares trial by combat, and assumes the mountains are holding their breath in reverence. You arrive in pieces, bone, rage, a torch tied to a rock, and still believe the world is structured to judge you, that everything is trial and triumph and heroism on cue. All of my eyes judged him with withering quiet, and I felt myself unraveling physically back into the alien thing that Lovecraft couldn't name. Tell me, Draugr, why is it always you that gets to decide what counts as good? What deserves to live? What must be slain for the story to mean something? You think nature exists to narrate your choices? The wolves howl so you'll feel brave. The moon shines for your love story. The stars arrange themselves to validate your emotions. This idea that the forest watches you with approval, that rivers cleanse you out of affection, it's astounding. You're not even the loudest thing on the planet, and yet you believe gravity itself wants you to succeed. I let that sink in. He shifted in place. The Draugr dropped his axe. Then he dropped to his knees and howled with the operatic self-pity of a man who thought Viking glory was a subscription service.
I just want to be chosen.
That's when I realized he was going to cry. I resisted the urge to drown myself only because I forgot I was an aquatic eldritch god for a fraction of a second.
It's been thousands of years.
He wailed, clawing at the sky.
I died on that hill.
He said, voice cracking in the way only the undead can, like something rusted, trying to pray.
There was no burial, no rites, just silence. And now there's an IKEA there, a cosmic joke of a thing. My son's bled beside me. My wife's grave is somewhere beneath the parking lot. I can no longer see them. Tourists step on her name. They don't know. They don't care.
His hand shook, curled around dirt like it might remember him.
I waited. Gods, I waited. Every solstice, every thunderstorm, every raven overhead, I thought, this is the one. This is the sign. But they never came. Not Odin, not Freyja, not Hel, not even a Valkyrie by mistake. Just a time and moss.
He looked up, less Viking, and now more just a decrepit old man that life or death wouldn't choose.
Do you know what it's like to lie still in your own bones? To feel them rot, then mend, then rot again century after a century. And no one calls it sacred. No one remembers the name carved on your sword. They took my saga from me. Lake, witch, worm, lizard, whatever you are. I never thought the stars cared. I just wanted someone to answer back.
One sandal flopped off. A raven landed on his shoulder, then reconsidered and left. I sighed and considered ending the human race again. Opened my eyes, all of them, then reached into the folds of my dorsal coil and retrieved my phone like a cursed librarian, retrieving the emergency sarcasm pamphlet, flicked through contacts, found the entry labeled Thor, and dialed. It rang.
Whoa, hey, Space Calamari buddy,
Came the reply, bright and breathy.
Wow, I haven't heard from you in like forever. Not since you teleported here, broke into my place and used Mjolnir as a Wi-Fi signal boost. What's up, big guy?
Do you have a minute?
Yeah, totally. I'm just watching some clouds. They're doing this weird spiral thing. Is that normal?
I closed my eyes. Can you send a small lightning strike? Localized, fjord adjacent, just a light motivational jolt.
Oh yeah, sure. What are we talking here? Like a crisp sizzle or more of a surprise, you're the prophecy kind of vibe?
Something theatrical, non-lethal, ideally humiliating. Thor was quiet for a second.
Okay, I can do a dramatic but not tragic. Give me a sec.
I looked down at the Draugr. He was now pounding both fists into the dirt and yelling something about bloodlines and meatballs. Thor made a thoughtful ha noise.
All right, I think I've got just what you need. I'll try the new side strike. Little sizzle, kind of swirly.
There was a pause. I spoke again. Did Draugr still get a chance? To prove themselves, I mean.
Draugr, like a second chance? Wow, there's a thought. I don't think that's in our Chooser of the Slain constitution, mostly because we don't have one. We sort of just made it all up anyway. But, you know, gotta hand it to you. You're always making me think. I respect that.
His voice lingered like a divine question mark, or like a wind chime. that had just been asked to define justice.
I mean, maybe. Depends who's watching. Valkyries don't do walk-ins anymore, and Odin's got a big no-refund energy these days. But, like, technically, sure, you can try.
There was silence.
You know what? A cool spear throw might help.
Thor offered brightly.
Or a really tragic poem. That's how I got promoted in the Third Age.
Thor.
Yeah?
Strike him.
Oh, right now. My bad.
A bolt cracked through the sky, like punctuation from a forgotten god. It struck the Draugr squarely in his legacy. He spasmed, launched sideways, and landed in a steaming knot beside a disgruntled tree stump. Thor's voice returned, cheerful as ever.
Wow, that was crispy. Did you see that spiral on the end? Like a little divine curl. Loved that. He is now smoldering hotter than a leviathan's gastrointestinal bubbles in mating season.
I stared at the sky like it had personally failed me. Thor was up there somewhere, giggling in Asgard's gym, proud of himself. "You absolute thunder clown," I bellowed. "You linguistic accident in a laurel crown. Do you even hear the things you say?" A pause. The smoldering Draugr twitched once, maybe twice. I adjusted my posture by one tectonic fraction, enough to suggest gratitude without condoning the phrasing. Still, effective, I suppose. Thank you, Thor.
Sweet. Tell him Odin's watching. He's not, but, keeps the vibe alive.
I hung up and walked to the edge of the fjord, still warm from my eldritch weight. "Congratulations," I said to his smoldering charred flesh bag, crowning my thoughts with smug satisfaction. "You've been chosen by a divine lightning himbo who says wow when he casts." I angled my face in the water and resumed reclining so the sun would hit me just right when the clouds passed. The next time he appeared, because of course he did, the Draugr walked up silently, which must be unprecedented for Vikings, and he did so deliberately, upright, hands on his hips like a man about to complain to the management of fate itself. His armor was still scorched, hair slightly smoldering, and he wore the expression of someone who had been lightning struck into epiphany. He stood at the edge of my vision, waiting. I ignored him. He waited harder. A breeze passed. I adjusted my shoulder against the rock and sighed with all the weight of geological disappointment. "What do you want?" The Draugr looked downcast, like he was searching for a script he forgot to memorize.
So, I have a cat.
I answered him with silence, which was mostly to reclaim my vacation time, but a bit out of curiosity because I like a good story, and also because I simply allowed the sentence to exist in a world long enough to see if it would also die of natural causes, like an IKEA manual, unfit for reading. He continued.
She's undead. Sort of. Been hanging around my grave since I passed on. Her name is Snorri. Mean thing. Still kills birds somehow.
Another dramatic pause only humans are capable of.
She waits for me every year. Sits there like I might come back. I think she thinks I got lost.
I inhaled methodically, the kind of breath that could rupture caverns. "Are you about to ask me to adopt your posthumous furball, Draugr?" He shrugged.
Just check on her. Maybe, in case I get in.
I turned my head, slightly. "In where?"
Folkvanger.
He said, as if it were obvious.
If I'm being honest, I'm not loud enough for Valhalla. Never liked drinking contests. But maybe Freyja's people will take me. They like the quiet ones.
The audacity of it. Not the plea itself, but the delivery. The casual assumption that an eldritch god reclining in a tectonic fjord would interrupt his vacation to check in on a zombie cat in rural Scandinavia. Out of what? Sentiment? Nobility? Feline guilt? I thought about my phone and resisted the impulse to chuck it at his throat at light speed. You spent the entire morning attempting to cleave me in half with lawn equipment, and now you're lobbying for cat welfare and metaphysical eligibility. He shrugged and grinned, shyly, absurdly, like someone trying to charm a glacier.
Just thought, you might be the kind of god who notices things.
I stared at him, all of him. All of his scorched, smoldering, emotionally unlicensed existence. Oh, for the love of the void. There was a pause long enough for the trout to reconsider my palm. I will not promise anything, I said finally, slowly, like each word had to be signed, stamped, and cursed on its way out. But if I pass her grave and she hasn't tried to claw the timeline... I exhaled. The fjord hummed around me. I will take note. The Draugr picked up his battle axe from his old remains, satisfied. He turned, brushing moss off his ruined tunic, and walked back into the forest with the posture of a man who had finally completed the correct ritual. No lightning, no shouting, just soft footsteps and the distant possibility of grace. I remained still. The fjord breathed around me. The trout flicked its tail in judgment. The Draugr had left, soft-footed, spine straight, as if his bones had finally been notarized. Somewhere in the back of my brain, a migraine shaped like Valhalla rubbed its temples. I reached into the folds near my dorsal ridge and retrieved my phone. Same one I'd used to order divine croissants, and once to deactivate a warlock by blocking his number. Scrolled, paused, tapped 2 names. Conference call. It rang once, then Thor answered, his voice breezy and pleased with himself, like a golden retriever who just invented lightning.
Hey, Squid Dude, 2 calls in the same day,
He said brightly.
Did you see that twist on the end? I added a little divine flair, kind of a cosmic garnish.
You electrocuted a Draugr who brought a rake to a tentacle fight, I replied. This was not garnish. This was panic with embroidery.
Oh, but did it work?
He's upright again, speaking in full sentences, possibly enlightened.
Then you're welcome.
Before I could retort, the line clicked again. Freyja joined, her tone already radiating the sharp-eyed patience of someone expecting a sarcastic audit.
If this is about the croissant...
No, I said. This isn't a pastry tribunal, but this is about accountability and a favor. She went quiet. I let the silence stretch, just long enough to feel like ritual, and because a cloud in the shape of a croissant caught my gaze. Then I said, 1 quiet Draugr, a century of waiting, 3 full attempts, fire, screaming, lightning, and now, only now, do you both pick up your divine phones. Thor cleared his throat like thunder reconsidering.
Yeah, so things are kind of a mess up here. Odin's redoing how the slain are picked up now, and it's causing backlog because the Valkyries, well, hey, Freyja, want to explain this one? It's kind of your show here.
Freyja audibly sighed and added, dry as frozen mead.
The new generation of Valkyries are harder to train now. They work out like crazy but aren't strong enough to lift the fallen. So we're trying to use U-Haul trucks to drive them over the Bifrost. Also, they won't retrieve anyone unless the death was photogenic. So, they're jacked, but essentially useless.
Photogenic, I repeated.
There's a form.
There always is. I reclined deeper into the fjord's spine and thought about asking Azathoth to just wake up and start everything over again. So here's my problem, I said, my voice flattening into something older than fairness. When you turned into a vending machine, remember that time in Croissant Shan's bakery, Freyja? Back in my interdimensional library, when your divinity scattered like cheap plastic beneath divine carbonation, everyone came. The Norns, Madeline, Croissant Shan, even the tea elemental who still holds a grudge from the Battle of Steep. I paused for effect, and because the sun was hitting me just right again, we unraveled a pastry spell woven into your soul across 6 divine domains, 27 cursed receipts, and 1 romantic misunderstanding with a microwave god. It took us a month. No response. And this Draugr, who waited centuries for a chance to be seen, was invisible until he screamed in my face loud enough to jolt Valhalla out of nap mode. The silence that followed marinated in awkwardness, but it was deserved. Freyja spoke, and for once, her voice had no edge. Just wait.
You're right.
She said at last, her voice no longer divine, just tired.
We missed him. We missed so many like him, screaming into the silence while we chased louder glory. I don't have an excuse. I have a record, and it's wrong. But we can fix it now. He will be admitted to Folkvanger immediately.
She paused, just long enough to weaponize it.
And his cat can come. They both get first-class seats. Thor is volunteering to lift them personally, right now.
Thor made a strangled sound.
Wait, what?
You struck him.
She said sweetly.
You can carry him, and the cat, and the axe, if it's sentimental.
Okay, but Snorri bites.
She's undead,
Freyja said.
and you once dressed up as me to reclaim your hammer toy. You'll survive. Maybe.
I didn't laugh, not audibly. But somewhere in the depths of the fjord, a tectonic shelf shifted in satisfaction.